welcome to Born Wild, the show that takes you to the heart of wild India. It takes you up close and personal to some of India's most vulnerable and endangered animals, all of whom face challenges to their survival from habitat loss, the human-animal interface, and poaching. India is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries of the world. We have several World Heritage Sites and several biodiversity hotspots. Our wonderful wild landscapes and our wildlife really are our last bastions towards the coming challenge of climate change. Born Wild takes you to the ground, brings you reports and stories on what these species are facing on the ground, and we look for solutions to the challenges that they're facing. If we want our children and our children's children to see the world and enjoy it like we do today, we need to do something about protecting our natural landscapes. It really is now or never. In this episode, we bring you the sloth bear story. The International Union of Conservation for Nature has a red list. On that red list, sloth bear is listed as vulnerable. Vulnerable is just one step down from endangered. The reason for this is the usual trifecta: loss of habitat, poaching, and the human-animal interface. It's estimated that there are less than 20,000 bears left in India across its home range. We are in Daroji Bear Sanctuary, the first such sanctuary established in India for sloth bears. Of course, the sloth bear shares this beautiful terrain with many, many other wonderful creatures whom we'll also bring to you in this episode. But for now, come with us as we go look for the sloth bear.
It's a rugged and rough terrain, rising rocky hillocks broken up with scrub vegetation. A clear sky and an open road stretch before me. I keep an eye out for all the denizens of this wonderful place. I'm in Daroji, an 83 square kilometer large sanctuary in the Bellary district of Karnataka. Just 15 kilometers from the World Heritage Site of Hampi, Daroji nestles as one of the last green bastions in a district completely given over to mining. As the terrain here is mainly scrub jungles, the Indian government has never really recognized it as valuable ecosystem and without any protection has been open to exploitation.
Somehow scrublands we related more as if, with the degradation, and we classify many of these areas as wastelands. And that is where the kind of whole mismanagement of these areas begin, because they are seen by the decision makers and even public at large as wastelands. Steps are taken to convert it into different land uses. So it's useless, nothing occurring there, without realizing that the flora and fauna you find in such places is only unique to these places. And these are the plants which slow down the runoff. That means more and more area gets recharged into the groundwater level, and the flow and erosion and all those processes are stopped.
The Deccan thorn scrub forests are a xeric shrubland ecoregion of India and southernmost Sri Lanka. Historically, this area was covered by tropical dry deciduous forests, but this only remains in isolated fragments. The vegetation now consists mainly of southern tropical thorn scrub type forests. At one time, tigers would have roamed this land as would have elephants. The vegetation, while not being of high carrying capacity or vegetation that would support large numbers of megafauna like the elephants, it would have been a haven in the rains. Now, in Bellary, this area is mostly hemmed in by mines on the one side, a growing town of Hospet on the second, and the Tungabhadra river on the third side. It should ideally be well connected to the Sandur forests, but that connection is little more than degraded patches encroached on by illegal and legal mines.
After the initial process of the vegetation succession that happens with the grasses coming before the scrublands becomes very important phase, and they last somewhere around anywhere from 5 to 20 years or 25 years before the natural forest starts coming in, and that means the soil has started also building up there. And these scrublands or the scrub forests, wherever they are, they do occur as good cover for the animals in that area. So you're talking about the corridors. If these areas could be acting as corridors, of course they would act as corridors for the animals to move, because they find cover while crossing from one protected area to other area.
Daroji is an example of what all of this area would have once looked like. In just this small patch of green, there are sloth bears, leopards, various variety of birds and reptile species. The Tungabhadra river is the lifeline of this entire area, and Daroji forms a part of its catchment. All along one side of the park we saw canals, now dry but waiting for rains to bring water to the Tungabhadra, which is then used by the surrounding human populations. Now it was just bare rock and few patient eagle owls. The owls nest and live in crevices on the rock faces, and conservationists are fighting to keep the walls of the canals from being cemented over. In the Ramayana, the river Tungabhadra, which flows into the Krishna river in Andhra, was called the Pampa. Legend says that it was here that the mythical monkey kingdom of Kishkinda was set, and as Ram crossed this part of the river on his journey further south towards Lanka, then Jambavanta, the bear king, joined him. Even in the Krishnavatara, there is a bear king Jambavan, whose daughter Lord Krishna marries. To see the sloth bear here in Daroji, we ventured out to Bear Rock. Bear Rock is so named as it happens to be a favourite hangout spot for the bears. We climbed into specially made machans in order to watch them and film them without disturbing them. While waiting for the bears to arrive, several other denizens of Daroji found their way here. The first to arrive were several little birds, the dozens of munias, then both the grey and painted francolins, then peacocks and wild boar, a couple of curious and colourful rock lizards. As the first hour ticked by and the rain clouds collected in the sky, a shaggy shape emerged from the top of the rock. The sloth bear, an adult, came down the rock. The sloth bear is an insectivorous bear species native to the Indian subcontinent. Small populations are found in Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bhutan. Compared to most bears, sloth bears have lankier bills, long, rough, shaggy hair and sickle-shaped claws, and specially adapted lower lip and palate used for sucking up insects. They usually feed on termites, honeybee colonies and fruits. In Daroji, on Bear Rock, the forest department puts out some sweet jaggery, and the bears come out to look it up. While it might be a controversial idea, the fact is, in Daroji, it's one of the few places in India where the terrain is both ideally suited for the animals and safe enough that they can wander about in daylight. It's probably the only place in the world where you're almost guaranteed to see a sloth bear.
They're amazing creatures, in fact. We have in Daroji, we have roughly around 120 bears here. And surprisingly, we have not come across any conflicts with humans. And they have behaved extremely well. And people have been sighting bears every day almost. And there's some sort of a bond developed between the humans and the bears. And it's been fine all these years.
For the regular visitors, a high watchtower is built far away from Bear Rock so that the bears are not disturbed. And for the forest department, there are watchtowers built closer to Bear Rock, which one can use to film bears if one applies for special permission and is accompanied by forest officials. Adult bears like this one weigh about 130 kilos and are about 3 feet high. He is very capable of rising and balancing well on his hind legs, and that could make him about 5 feet tall. They're superb climbers, have a natural tendency towards acrobatics, can run quite fast, and it is this that made them the source of entertainment as dancing bears. Adult bears may sometimes congregate together in a feeding spot, but in general are solitary. Sometimes male and female bears might hang out together, especially while mating. A male bear is quite gentle around his cubs and can get very territorial when in mating mode. They are generally aggressive if approached and can kill a person quickly. Usually shy, they stay away from people unless circumstances force them to interact. As they are vulnerable to predators like leopards and tigers found in their habitat, they have learned to deal with threats aggressively. Today, with greater encroachment into these habitats by people not used to these animals, the human-animal interface is progressively deteriorating. It was the loss of her habitat in vast areas of India that made the sloth bear vulnerable on the red list and a Schedule 1 species in India, giving it the same legal protection as the tiger. Today, if there are any bear populations left, it is because they are also found in various forests that are protected as tiger parks. A sudden opening up of the skies brought the rain down on us, reminding me of the crucial need for water in this otherwise dry district. Water from the Tungabhadra is used for irrigation and drinking water purposes, and it is the main source of water here. Drought years can be exceptionally hard. Already a few seasons of rain had failed, and this shower was welcome. In the park, the Forest Department has created several natural water collecting systems that catch as much rain as possible. These natural water holes then become the source of drinking water for the animals. While poaching for the dancing bear trade has declined considerably, sloth bears are still poached for their bile. Bear gallbladder bile is used in traditional Chinese medicines, and many bears are captured for this or killed. Here in Daroji, to protect the bears and to also help prevent the human-animal interface from turning confrontational, there are several anti-poaching patrols. The forest guards monitor the entire area closely and ensure that the bears don't wander too much into local fields and villages.